I want to share one of the most common phrases that I hear when I speak to people who have gone through emotional neglect or growing up with emotionally distant parents. And this ranges from extremely common forms of it to very severe forms of it, or even to certain situations where they may have not even spent a lot of their earlier years with that parent or set of parents, right? They may have grown up with another family member and then are later on reunited with their parents, right? That's some another example of a dynamic or situation that is very common that I've heard from people. What this phrase is feeling like a burden, feeling like there's something wrong with the person that is causing the parents to act this way towards them, to in a way reject them, right? In a way never give them the compassion, the empathy, the understanding that is needed in order to create that bond of trust and security with a parent, right? That leads to being able to healthily communicate and feel like you are actually loved truly and fully by a parent. So some ways that this can show up, right? These repeated patterns of disregard that a parent can show is showing indifference or minimizing any experiences that the person is going through, or just outright choosing to ignore them or downplay what they're going through, right? There may be a lack of emotional support in the sense of not being able to provide comfort, understanding, or empathy during any difficult situation that the child may be going through or teen, right? And it could be anything simple as feeling sad at school or mad at somebody else, anything simple to more complex situations, right? And those things simply may be adding to the frustration that a parent is already going through, right? They may be struggling to provide a household. They may be surviving or on a day basis, right? Providing for a full house, cooking, cleaning, food, clothes, all these things are things that a parent has to worry about. So anything extra is simply adding to their frustrations, and that they themselves not having the emotional tools or knowledge or capacity to go through those things healthily on their own and now with kids on top of that simply ends up being this frustration or this anger, this inability to go through those conversations with the child. And they could use phrases, they could use certain common behaviors that keep on showing up, right? They may tell you to figure it out on your own, to push through, to be strong, or they just use simple phrases to downplay the whatever they may be going through and never truly sit down and listen and try and understand and empathize with what they may be feeling internally, right? And somebody that goes through this with a parent, right, with a parent that's not truly there for them, they're just physically there, is going to start to have a difficult time connecting with their own self-perception, right, with their own emotions and being able to express them or feel them in a healthy way until they build and build and build, and then eventually they just blow up into something that they can't handle anymore, and they find themselves coping through unhealthy behaviors, addictions, relationships. They'll find some way to cope with these things, right? And if they don't, it ends up becoming this anxiety, these fears that show up in their life and that in a way control their lives, right? Now they're choosing not to go out to eat. They're choosing not to have conversations with coworkers, friends. They're choosing to isolate. They're choosing to stuff all these things and cope in unhealthy ways. That's what I'm trying to get at. And in even more severe cases, people start to feel like they're living their life on autopilot. They're in a fog, and any decisions they need to make are very difficult for them, right? They may second guess themselves for anything they are wanting to do in their life, and it may be very difficult to feel like they're living a purposeful life, a life that they're willing to get up in the morning for and feel ready to tackle anything in the day, right? So this disconnection from oneself is very, very difficult to live with because it's very draining, and anything that can seem like an attack on the person is very easy to get trapped in, right? It leads to that overthinking mind, the spiraling mind. So that's one of the more severe symptoms that I see in people. And whenever I hear that, I know that it's a good thing that they chose to either do the initial call with me or choose to work with me, as usually getting rid of that fog, that autopilot feeling is very empowering and opens up a lot more choices in their life where they may have not noticed that they've been living on autopilot, right? So it can also start to form major and minor depressive symptoms where it can be hard for them to get up in the mornings. It can lead to them skipping out on personal hygiene. It can lead to them just in a way checking out from a lot of areas in life that they normally would be healthily able to go through or normal for them, normal part of the routine. They're just cutting it out now, right? So whenever people choose to go and tackle these things on their own, it can take a long time to truly reach another level in their life, right? They may spend their 20s, 30s, even 40s living in this fog, this autopilot, this internal belief of feeling like a burden, right? Of feeling that there's something wrong with them. And some of the solutions that they come up with are simply just coping, just putting band-aids over the things, right? And any difficult situation can regress all of that progress, make it disappear, and they go right back to feeling that internalized negative self-belief, right? So whenever somebody does choose to work with me, one of the things I tell them is that it's still going to be a journey. There's still going to be work that needs to be done, but the solutions you're going to reach for yourself are going to be much more resilient, and it's going to be able to stand the test of time, right? And any difficult situation that may come for you, as that's what life is, right? It's always constantly changing and there's always something happening that's new. So that's one of the benefits of choosing to work with somebody, right? You're able to reach those things much faster, and the solutions you reach are much more resilient. They're built of rock instead of something like a sandcastle, right? That's simply going to get washed over by the waves of life. So hopefully you connect to this and it can inspire you to finally take action and choose to break those negative self-beliefs, right? And it may be difficult to identify them in yourself in the beginning, or if you've just barely started thinking and connecting, having gone through emotional neglect in your earlier years. But over time, the deeper you start to look within, right, build that self-awareness and ask yourself deeper questions, the closer you'll get to what that belief really is, right? You'll be able to use new words or actually identify it. And then from then you can just see how it's spread throughout your whole life like a spider web, right? Affecting different areas, smaller areas, larger areas. Just it kind of begins to envelop a lot of your life and it keeps you stuck in that autopilot. So I hope that this inspires you and you can choose to take action. If you have a story that you'd like to share, or any form of emotional neglect that you went through in a younger age, I would love to hear your story. And I do these free calls so that I can gain more knowledge from y'all and I can understand what it's like to have gone through that, right? Especially the more severe cases. And I love to hear how you overcame certain things in your own life, or even learn about what you're still struggling with, right? So feel free to reach out, send me a message, anything, right? And I'll be available.